Hello everybody and welcome to this week's Business Showcase. And we've got a really exciting business this week. Without giving too much away, it is, well, there it is. We've got the picture. Australia's longest tourist jetty, is that correct?
Oh, let's go with that. Australia's longest tourist jetty. We beat Port Germain in South Australia, so that's correct.
Fantastic. And it's got a fantastic story behind it in terms of the community coming together to put the jetty back together following, various disasters over the years, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. 1865, the jetty was built, but it suffered a huge storm in 1978, which was Cyclone Elby. So since then, the community's rallied together to make sure that it's here for future generations to enjoy.
Lisa Shreeve is our CEO, is the CEO of the Busselton Jetty Incorporated, and the Busselton Jetty has really acted as a bit of a tourism catalyst for the whole region in many ways. Can you tell us a bit about the role of the jetty there in the tourism industry in Busselton?
Yeah, sure, Anthony. So Busselton Jetty Incorporated is the organisation that oversees the businesses on the jetty. That's the jetty train, the interpretive centre and museum, and the underwater observatory. So we've been running since 1987 as a not-for-profit incorporated group with a board of 8 people. We now have over 800 members all around the world. And that's really exciting because it gives it that community ownership to a state asset that's also heritage listed. So it's a really unique business model, and 25% of our revenue, basically our ticket sales on the train and the underwater observatory and walk tickets, go towards ongoing maintenance and preservation of the jetty. So that's really exciting because it is, as I said, a unique business model where we don't get annual ongoing funding. Essentially, tourists pay for the ongoing sustainability of the jetty. It's
been a challenging 12 months, and I know that you, over the past 2 years, you put in a submission last year and a submission again this year for the Business Awards. How did you guys travel when COVID hit last year?
Yeah, it was pretty awful for all people involved in the tourism industry at first. So March 2020, we were heading for 700,000 visitors. The 2019-2020 financial year was going to be our biggest ever. We'd had huge international support. We were at 44% international visitors. And we were looking at cracking Rottnest numbers, which is really unique given that we're 2.5 hours south of the most isolated city in the world of Perth. So we're really excited, and January, February, we started hearing this COVID word thrown around and didn't really know much about what it was, and obviously we all learned very quickly what it was. So that pretty much decimated us. 55 days we were closed, and we went from having one of our biggest years to probably having our worst year. We're down about $2.5 million in ticket sales compared to where we were 18 months ago. And we're still looking at a WA audience coming to all of our tours, which just restricts the pool of people that you can get through. And WA have been incredibly supportive to us. If you take out that 44% international visitation and about another 15% interstate, we should be about 50-60% down on previous years, but we're only about 30-40% down depending on the seasonality. So we have had a lot of support from WA people, and we've tried to do a lot of new things because we realise that a lot of WA people have come to the jetty before, so we need to do new and different things to keep them engaged and entertained and educated.
Tell us about some of those new and different things that you're doing, Lisa.
Yeah, we took the opportunity during those 55 days in lockdown to pretty much upgrade everything that we possibly could, which gave the staff something to do, which was great. In 8 days, we created 14 virtual tours online. So we've got some of our staff doing yoga and personal training and doing a history tour of the jetty. We had some live underwater observatory tours, which people all over the world joined in at a couple of times a day. We had a night tour. We've got marine education workshops. And we did some fun things on there as well for people in lockdown because everyone needed a bit of brightening up. We also upgraded our train audio and we got our local kids of staff to voice that with a couple of our volunteer jetty hosts, and we did all that ourselves in the Busselton Senior High School gymnasium and recorded it, so that was a great local feat. And we also did things like upgrading the interpretation in the underwater observatory, which turns 18 this December. and hadn't had any of the signage or the technology inside upgraded. So we spent $250,000 with the help of a state government grant to upgrade all of the signage and put some new cool projector technology into the underwater observatory, upgraded all the toilets, some new signage, pretty much tried to use our time effectively. We also had staff that were on JobKeeper that went out in the community and did tree planting and did Zoom calls to aged care homes and helped walk people's dogs because they were a little bit worried about getting out and about. So we tried to help out the community, not just sort of upgrade our own facilities and make sure that we gave more than we took during those sort of 2 months in lockdown. And since then, we've done a number of new things, like we've introduced a new winter tour all about whales, sharks and storms, and we've got shark selfies, and we've got a really cool screen that a shark attacks you virtually, and we've got some more virtual reality technology, and we're doing special things for winter just to get WA people coming back. We set up a pop-up marquee at the end of the jetty last year, and we ran long table crab feasts and surf and turf events and had some singers out there and all those sort of things, just to try and give WA people something different to do, given that we've been lucky enough to be out of lockdown.
So you've really worked on crafting an outstanding experience there for your most critical customers, the ones who are like us, who live in WA. We've seen it before. It's like, why would we go there again? You've created something new and fresh for them in so many different ways, haven't you?
Yeah, we've tried really hard, because we sort of sat down as a staff pretty much after we went into lockdown and said, okay, what can we do in the future? What do people need? And we looked at their pain points, like kids couldn't have birthday parties and people couldn't exercise, and there was a lot of people taking up home cooking, and parents were drinking a lot of wine because they had to homeschool all day. So we thought, well, how can we create things that keep people entertained, but also it kept the Busselton Jetty and Busselton in the community's eye. So, the southwest and Busselton is recognised all over Australia. I was on Alan Jones, we've been on Sunrise, the New York Times has picked up our new building, the Australian Underwater Discovery Centre. So we've just tried to do everything we can to keep that desire there for people to come and visit the southwest of WA.
And you mentioned the new building. You've got some very significant plans underway for a major project out there.
Yeah, we've been working on this for about 6 years now. Before COVID, our underwater observatory can only take 44 people an hour, and it was getting to the stage where we're fully booked out for all of the school holidays and weekends, and we were sending people away. And I had this particular situation where we had a couple from Singapore that really wanted to come and do the underwater observatory tour because they don't swim, and they're really excited to see under the ocean, and they were messaging us, and they drove all the way from Perth, and we said, oh, sorry, our next available was in 3 days' time. And they said, well, we've just driven from Perth, we haven't got accommodation, we can't stay. And that was a situation happening regularly during peak seasons and school holidays, and pretty much when the sun was out in summer. So we started looking at, for the sustainability of the jetty, giving 25% of ticket sales, we had to be able to accommodate those people, but also when they spent more money at a bigger underwater observatory, that money goes back into the jetty being here for another 156 years. So we had a consultant do a feasibility study. We looked at a lot of things like chairlifts from one end of the jetty to the other, submarines, and all different types of potential tourist attractions. And he surveyed, 3,000 people at the Perth airport. He surveyed visitors here. He surveyed people online. And at the end of the day, they said, look, you have this amazing underwater observatory. There's only 6 natural aquariums in the world like yours. The issue is you can't get enough people through it. So just do what you do now, but just do it better. So he created this idea of a new underwater observatory, which Subcon in WA are now in the process of designing. They're about 80%. And we went out for community consultation last year with 3 different designs, and the cetacean, or the whale, was winning design. So we're nearly creating a 3,000-tonne concrete whale at the end of the jetty, ready to open hopefully in January 2023. That will fit 140 people through an hour and pretty much triple our income, which means we triple that money going back into jetty conservation.
Fantastic. Do the public get to name this whale at the end of the jetty?
Yeah, we have called it the Australian Underwater Discovery Centre because it will be the biggest and best in Australia. And we're probably trying to compete here with the Great Barrier Reef. There was a few other reasons we did it. AUD is the Australian dollar. So if you are coming from overseas in the future, if you can ever get in, and you search what's the Australian dollar conversion rate to my local currency, the AUDC will come up high, and we'll hopefully have people pick up on that. But we are running a competition that's just close to nicknamed the AUDC, and we've had some really cool and really funny entries, and this would be the colloquial name that we might call it, like you call the OBH in Perth the OBH, and the Nard in Busselton the Esplanade, and you have these sort of short, you know, Aussies shorten everything. So we've got a few funny ones. Obviously Moby's in there for Moby Dick and Free Willy, and we've had Whaley McWhale Face and Jetty McJetty Face.
I was going to ask you how many of those you'd have, yes.
Yeah, we've had a few of those, but I won't say which ones I like. And we've got some judges at the moment going through about 300 entries to try and pull out one that we think fits and is, you know, short enough to use colloquially and not too long. We did have a cool one that I will mention. It's probably a little bit too long, but it was Bustle, as in Busselton, spout instead of Brussels sprout, the Bustle spout. So I thought that was quite funny.
That's very clever. That's very clever. Look, just a general question here for, without notice, for other small business owners who might be looking at this. Life can throw up surprises, sometimes things which we never see coming out of the blue, like COVID. And what you've shown to us is and I have a dislike of the word, but the word pivot that we hear so often can often mean just refocusing on what you're offered. Tell us, what would your advice to anyone else who is faced with the uncertainty or things that are that crop up like this? What would you say to them?
I think you have to start with your customer first, and that's what we did. We sat down and said, okay, what are people's pain points and how can we help to alleviate that? And, you know, what are they prepared to do for free? What are they prepared to pay for? And we just started to look at all of our previous surveys, and we've lucky enough, we've done 12,000 surveys over the past 5 years because we were building this new underwater observatory, and we really wanted to understand what people really enjoyed when they came to the jetty. So once we understood, you know, our customers' needs and wants in a post-COVID world, they're looking at doing things right by the environment, they're looking at quality time with their families, all those sort of things, and how do we meet those needs at different price points. So we were really conscious that some people didn't have a lot of money, and then other people had excess money. You know, the second-hand car industry is going gangbusters, and people seem to be spending a lot more on retail than before COVID, and there are then people that they've lost their jobs, and you know, they're in an industry that's really struggling. So we were just trying to find something at every price point that would help people. It has been tough, I'll admit. You know, we had 54 staff before COVID. We're down to 32 now. Some people we couldn't give them the hours that they wanted when JobKeeper finished, and they have been offered these massive jobs, massive wages elsewhere, and you can't turn that down. So just keeping your team engaged and happy, and you know, being able to be paid is really important, and just being able to be supportive. Someone asked me the other day, what does it feel like to be a CEO? And I said, I feel like I have at the moment 32 children, not because they act like children, but you feel this nurturing, motherly sort of, how do I help these people get through COVID? Because we work with each other, you know, 38, 40 hours a week, and we see each other every day. And sometimes we see each other more than we see our partners when you take out sleeping time at home, and you become friends. You know, you used to have a job to do, but you all are there because you believe in what you're doing. So I think there's a little bit of that social capital that you really need to look up to your people first, and make sure you know the people that are coming, your customers, what they also need.
Fantastic advice there for anyone with staff and looking at adapting to these changes. Thank you so much for your time today. And for everyone, the details are at Busselton Jetty. You search it. I guess it's out there. And if you don't know about it, you haven't been there in the last year, absolutely get to this location. It's world class. I can't think of a better word for it. It is amongst the best of these facilities in the world, isn't it?
Yeah, thanks Anthony for your support. We think we've got a unique attraction. Everyone that goes to the underwater observatory is amazed at the marine life, and the tour guides really do a great job explaining, things like clean oceans and all of the different things that I didn't know about before I started here as a CEO. And then you just grow to love it because it is unique. And for anyone that can't get here, if you are far away or in lockdown, we have live webcams on our website. You can see underwater, you can see at the top of the jetty. We have a lady in the UK who has it as a screen on 2 screens, and she just sits there all day, and she constantly messages me on Facebook to tell me when our sea lion's there, or she thinks she saw a shark or a whale go past. And it's different every day at the Busselton Jetty, and that's what we love about it.
It is beautiful. Thank you very much. See you
Thanks.
later.